If there's a Games Workshop game that's perfect for 3D printing your own army, it's Warhammer the Old World. So I'm going to show you how I printed everything from the Bretonnia core box, but I couldn't stop there. So at the end of this video, I'll show you what I printed to get the core box up to the 2,000 points to finish my army. So let's get to work. The Old World is back, baby, and so far the reviews have been pretty good. There's been a pretty dedicated fan base for Warhammer Fantasy Battles that was eagerly awaiting its comeback, and Games Workshop has finally acquiesced to the request. However, the game is still in a bit of an odd place right now. If you're new to the hobby, or just new to Warhammer Fantasy, then coming up with an army can be a challenge. If you took a look at Games Workshop's web store right now, there's currently barely anything in stock. But even if you have a Warhammer Fantasy army laying around, you may need to do some rebasing. But if that's the case, I'll show you the perfect solution to get you back into the game quickly and easily. But if you're a new player that's looking to get into Warhammer the Old World, 3D printing to the rescue. It's just a matter of finding the right STL files to represent an entire Bretonian army, which all share the same design language. So I turned to Titanforge. And going through all my collection, I found the perfect sets. The Kingdom of Aquitaine Volumes 1 and 2 are perfect for the job. I had all the files I needed, so it was time to get printing. I printed the entire army on my Elegoo Saturn II 8K with a combination of standard Elegoo 8K resin and Elegoo water washable 8K resin. And it took around 8 or 9 full build plates. I probably used around 3 full bottles of resin. All the bases for this video were supplied by Proxy Hobbies, free of charge. More on them in a bit. Titanforge releases both 28 and 32mm versions of all their models, so I use the 28mm versions to better be in scale with the old school Warhammer Fantasy models, and it would save some resin. Here's all the models compared side by side with the price breakdown for each. Men-at-Arms, Volume 1, Men-at-Arms. Peasant Bowmen, Volume 2, Lowborn Levies. Knights of the Realm, Volume 1, Knights Resplendent. Pegasus Knights, Volume 1, Pegasus Knight. Lord on Royal Pegasus, I used a Pegasus Knight that had the correct pose so he could look natural with one foot on the ground and one raised on a tactical rock. The rider is the Lord model from Volume 2 that I cut off the mace, printed a lance and shield, and voila. To give this model a little more presence, I also used the 32mm version to help show its royal stature. Pretty good representation of the Lord on Royal Pegasus. I also used different sets to create the command groups for the Men-at-Arms and Peasant Bowmen. You just need to get creative and kit bash what you need from what you have available. If you're enjoying this video and you want to see me print out an entire 2,000 point Old World Tomb King's army, then smash that like button. If I'm able to get 1,000 likes, which will let me know that there's enough people interested, I'll build it. If you're needing bases for your Old World projects, or for any other game for that matter, you need to check out Proxy Hobbies. Their blank bases, converters, and movement trays they produce are 3D printed and match up to the exact requirements for basing sizing for each game. Check out how easy these are to go from 20mm bases to 25mm bases. If Games Workshop threw your army for a loop with the base size changes, then they have you covered with these sweet base size converters. You can even get a movement tray that converts them all in the tray. They have a wide variety of basing and train products for Warhammer 40k, Age of Sigmar, you name it. They're no slouch on hobby supplies either, including paints, tools, weathering pencils, whatever you might need for your next project. Check out their new resin cast theme bases. When I got my hands on them, I was super impressed with the detail on those. They have a few different options as well, with the Dwarven Hold, Old Brick Road, Sacred Ruins, and the Shifting Sands. If I get the 1,000 likes, I'm going to use those Shifting Sands bases for my Old World Tomb King's army. So click on the link in the description and go check out what they have to offer. One of the things that really excited me about Warhammer the Old World was the list building. The recent changes to 4K list building left me kind of bummed out. But with the Old World, there's a ton of granularity for almost every unit in the game. Tons of magic items that can add some narrative depth to your army. Most of them aren't even that good. That doesn't always matter to casual players. It's just cool. So here's what I took to round out my 2,000 point list. I feel like a trebuchet is a must-have. Who doesn't want to be using area of effect templates? The trebuchet model is from Volume 2. Next, I went with 6 Grail Knights. For these, I used the Feudal Knights from Volume 2. I added a Battle Standard Bearer mounted on a Bretonnian Warhorse using the Mounted Paladin from Volume 2. It's clear that I needed some magic, so I added a Prophetess on Warhorse, the Damsel from Volume 2, and a Damsel on Warhorse, Damsel from Volume 1. There are other units that you could make with these collections as well, such as the Mounted Yeoman for one example. Or you could also create the new Battle Standard Bearer on Royal Pegasus by following the same steps for creating the Royal Pegasus from the Lord, but then using the Titan Forged Paladin as its rider. I wanted to lean into the feel of Bretonnia and add more knights, and horses in general. I usually get a lot of negative comments when it comes to cost savings, but from my perspective, I've saved over $500 by printing this army rather than purchasing it. And the sculpts I used are way better than those 30-year-old sculpts from the original Bretonnia line. It's pretty tough to even feel bad about it when you go to GW's website and everything's out of stock. You can't even get it. After all, I still need to buy the rules, so GW is still getting their money. Here's the reveal of the full 2,000 point Bretonnian army in all its glory. And what better way to display them than on the felt of my pool table, giving that 90s retro vibe. Hope you enjoyed this one.